Miami's performance, another defeat. Inter Miami's road woes from 2022 have carried into the new year. Hello everyone, it's a new week, and that means a new episode of Miami Total Football Radio, the number one weekly and bilingual Inter Miami focused podcast that provides you, the listeners, with all the latest news, analysis, opinions, inside information, general punditry, and much, much more. My name is Franco Panizo. I am one of the usual weekly co-hosts of this program. A program that has been listened to in more than 50 countries and counting, and a show in which the beautiful game collides with passion and analysis. Now, normally I have two other regular co-hosts, but one of them is still busy covering baseball. That is Jose Armando, and the other, Andrea Llanes, aka Ajicita, she's a little under the weather, so she is unavailable this week. But we have a familiar face, or familiar voice, joining us this week to help fill the void. The Bryce Duke to the Gregories of the podcast. And I'm talking about none other than someone we had on the show last year 2 times. So this is his 3rd appearance overall. Someone that covers Inter Miami games on a regular basis, sits in the press box with us. Probably the calmest, opinionated person that I know. And I'm talking, of course, no pun intended, about Miguel Paz, a.k.a. Michael Peace, if you want to do an English translation of his name. Miguel, welcome back. How are you doing?
Hey, Franco, nice having me around here. I can't believe it's my 3rd time, actually. But you know what? Honduras is in the house again, so you don't have the other Honduras, but you have me, so representando Honduras, el país de 5 estrellas, papá.
Can't get rid of the Hondurans. Somehow you guys just keep on coming on the show, man. I don't know. I was looking for an Englishman, but no. All jokes aside, Miguel, thank you for joining us and for filling in for your fellow compatriots who are out of action this week. So you're becoming a regular. You're becoming a veteran for Miami Total Futbol Radio. By the way, did I ever make you pronounce that? Did I ever have you do? No? Should we try it? Do you want to try it? Are you up for it?
Of course, man.
All right, let's hear it, because this, the listeners are going to hear on initial try, without practice. This was not rehearsed. You didn't even know I was going to do this. All right, let's hear it. Go for it.
And we're listening to Miami Futbol Radio.
Hey, I like it except for the fact that you forgot the word total. But besides that, I'll give you a C+, but you missed. If you would have gotten the word, I would have given you an A. I would have given you an A.
That's still, you go to the next round with the C+.
All right, Miguel. Well, we've got a good bit of things to talk about, because Inter Miami, once again, suffered a setback, a letdown on the road. This time up in Canada in very, very cold weather. Exactly. At BMO Field against Toronto FC. So we'll dive into that game. We'll dive into what's plaguing Inter Miami right now. What can be done better. There's also a first MLS start for one of the Inter Miami players that people have been chiming in and people have opinions about. Of course, we're talking about Harvey Neville, who is, of course, Phil Neville's son, so we'll dive into his performance, what we thought of his game, and, of course, we'll preview the upcoming weekend's match against the Chicago Fire, as well as do our Q&A session and the final thoughts at the very end. So, Miguel, you ready?
Yes, ready.
All right, your first appearance of the 2023 season. Let's get to it. All right, so we're jumping straight into it. No other news to dive into this week, just straight into the game. Inter Miami played away to Toronto FC this past Saturday at a very frigid BMO Field in Toronto, Canada. Inter Miami suffers a 2-0 loss in this one. Both goals came in the second half. The first one from Jonathan Osorio in the 48th minute, and the second one from Mark Anthony Kaye, also known by Andrea as Marc Anthony Calle, in the 69th minute. So 2-0. That's all she wrote for Inter Miami. A second consecutive shutout defeat. So they didn't score for the second straight away game. So that hot start the Inter Miami had to begin the year now doesn't look so good anymore after back-to-back losses. This was the starting lineup for Inter Miami in this one, and they came out yet again in that 4-2-3-1 formation. You had Drake Callender in goal. The back four from right to left was comprised of Harvey Neville, Serhii Krivstov, Christopher McVeigh, Franco Negri, and then the first line of the midfield was made up of Bryce Duke filling in for the injured Gregory and Jean Mota. That second midfield line with the more attack-minded players from right to left, Corentin, Coco Jean, Nicola Stefanelli, and Rodolfo Pizarro. And up top, Josef Martinez once again. So, Inter Miami lost 2-0. We'll dive into it. I haven't heard your thoughts. I haven't heard your thoughts in general about the team this year. Yes. So I'm curious to hear. Yes, I know you've been missing in action. You've been MIA in the MIA. But,
exactly.
But we'll hear your thoughts in just a moment about the team. But before we get to just the team in general, let's focus on this game. What'd you think about the overall performance? Were there some positives, more negatives? What did you think from this 2-0 defeat, Miguel?
I would say more negative than positive. Always when you lose, it's obviously more negative than positive. But look, last year I was, after like each away game, I was like, this team cannot win away from home. I don't know why. I kind of know what the problem is because he has been here for 3 years already. And you know who I'm talking about?
I don't know. I need a name. If you're
Phil Neville. Phil Neville, the head coach, because players go and some new players come as well. But look, Gregory was missing. This was the first game that Inter Miami didn't have their captain in the midfield, and we noticed that a lot. You know, it's not the same playing Bryce Duke with Jean Mota and Mota with Gregory. You lose a lot without Gregory. You lose defending, coming back from like transition. You lose a lot of that with Duke, but there's a problem with this team playing away from home, Franco. And you know you've been covering this team every single year. They have been in MLS, and
I've yet to miss a home game for the record. By the way, I will shamelessly plug that I haven't missed any game in terms of watching it, but I've attended every single Inter Miami home game. So
that is actually incredible, to be honest. But yeah, this team. Watching the game actually reminded me of the team of last year. Remember, like the first couple of 5 games, it was that team like dry, no creativity, lack of defending, like errors, like those childish errors that the team had last year. And like the first two games where I was like, okay, I don't want to say this Inter Miami team is good, but I'm like, okay, like I see the little things here, and then they go away from home, and I'm like, okay.
So you saw good starting points in the first 2
correct.
games, and not so much, especially in this
they
game.
were at home. They were at home, Franco. And we know this team plays different home than away games.
Mm-hmm. So it is common in MLS for teams to play well at home and struggle on the road. It's not many teams, or there are not many teams historically that if you look at the away record, that they get more wins than losses. So it's not completely uncommon to struggle away from home, but of course you want to try to win as many of the road games that you have as possible to give yourselves a good chance of being high up the table. Now, with Inter Miami, I will say this about this game, because I agree that there were a lot of simple errors and a lack of precision from the team in terms of some of the passes they made, some of the decisions they made. Why that was, I don't know if, having Duke in there and that the roles changing a little bit for that first midfield line, if that impacted things. But, I can't blame the introduction of one player for Pizarro and Stefanelli missing clear-cut passes, or Coco Jean missing a clear pass. And, just there was just an overall sloppiness to the play. Now,
I agree, but
maybe the cold weather played a part. Maybe Toronto FC, of course, did their part as well, but Inter Miami clearly was not sharp on the day in this one.
Correct, I agree. Toronto still haven't won a game since playing Inter Miami, so I was like, maybe there's a chance there. We're not seeing the Toronto that everyone expected to play, but like not having Gregory is going to hurt Inter Miami a lot, and I think it's going to hurt them more than what we expect, to be honest. that's taking. I believe that's taking the engine out of the team, in my opinion. I don't know if that's too much in your opinion or what you think about that, but in my opinion, I think taking Gregory out of the team is, you know, is going to be pretty tough until they find something.
So last week when we talked on the pod, we just knew what the injury was, and we knew that Gregory would have surgery. Since then, it came out that he had a successful operation. He's officially now recovering and working his way back to trying to get healthy, but he is projected to miss 6 months. So Inter Miami's captain, Inter Miami's pit bull terrier in the center of the park, he's going to be out for much of the season. The good news is there's a chance he returns late in the year and could play some games there towards the stretch run and potentially the playoffs if Inter Miami makes it there. I will agree that I think Inter Miami lacked defensive muscle here, and especially as the game wore on, Jean Mota is the player that commits the foul, and a pretty needless foul, or at least the way he committed the foul was pretty needless because he grabs, I forget who he grabbed, but he grabs the dribbler and brings him down. I don't know if it was just frustration because Inter Miami was losing or what it was, but he grabs the player. It's a free kick for Toronto FC, and then Federico Bernardeschi hits a free kick into the back post, and Jean Mota gets beat to the ball by Marc-Anthony Kaye, who somehow hits a looping header while doing a 360. Pretty remarkable. Probably a bit fortunate for Toronto FC there and for Marc-Anthony Kaye, but nonetheless, if Gregory's in there, I don't think Marc-Anthony Kaye gets that header off that comfortably. Or gets, I think Gregory puts him off a little bit, or assuming Gregory would be on the mark. But yes, I do think Gregory's defensive muscle and defensive presence was missed. But that can't explain the lack of accuracy and the lack of performance levels from the team in general. We watched the game like I do every game, and I saw a team that just wasn't sharp on the night.
Yeah.
And that can happen, but I think there's reasons for that, and I think that's what we need to dive into. One thing that I think played a part in this, and we'll start, of course we're going to dive into some individual performances, but one thing that I think played a part in this, and again, I'm not laying the blame on this player, but he did not have a good game, and he was one of many players that didn't have a good game. Bryce Duke was playing as an 8, when he is more so really played as a 10, or when he's looked at his best, he's been playing further up the field, as a 10 or as a 8.5, however you want to look at it. Here he was playing as an 8 on that first line of the midfield. And in the first couple of minutes of the game, he plays a lateral pass out to the right flank to Harvey Neville. And it gets intercepted and comes back the other way because he didn't see the Toronto FC player that ended up intercepting the ball and got to the ball before Harvey Neville. And that was one of many instances. And again, Duke wasn't the only one. Many players just didn't have it on the night. But I don't necessarily think that the 8 position is Duke's best position. I don't necessarily think he's good enough to be a regular starting 10 in the league today. Hoy en día, I don't think he's good enough to be the 10 week in and week out. But I do think that is the position that plays best to his strengths. Not necessarily sure if that 8, that central midfield role, where he's getting the ball in deeper positions, where he can take risks, but you shouldn't take as many risks in that part of the field because you lose it and then you have a quick transition coming the other way. So I think that was part of the issue, but that's not the only issue. I think Jean Mota, you also didn't see him get as involved in the attack. You didn't see him move forward with as much freedom as you normally do. And I think Gregory's absence had a big part in that because you don't have that defensive muscle. So now Jean Mota, he's going to have a little bit more defensive responsibility, especially next to Bryce Duke, who doesn't give you all that much defensively. So that means Jean Mota now has to help make up for Gregory's absence with more defensive responsibilities, which take away from his ability to get forward and make those passes in the attacking half that you normally see. I mean, he did rip one shot, right? Like we jokingly say in the press box that, I don't know if I've shared this before on the podcast, but we jokingly say in the press box that on our Inter Miami bingo card for every game, which we don't really have a bingo card, this is just a phrase that I just made up and it kind of stuck. that the free card or the free square in this Inter Miami bingo card is Jean Mota shot from distance. And he took one shot in the second half from distance that he smashed well high of the goal. But you didn't see him overly involved in the attacking this one. And I think Gregory's absence and Phil Neville's tactics to try to make up for it played a part in that.
Yeah, I was coming back into that. Like, it's not the same without having Gregory there. And if you're Mota, like, okay, I'm going to go forward and like try to do something, but I know who's behind me. Now here, you don't have your partner in crime behind you anymore. You have Bryce Duke, who has an attacking mind, and he's always going to go forward. Do you understand what I'm saying? Also,
of course, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I think Phil Neville's game plan was for, yes, okay, we're going to bring in another attacking player, right? This is what I think Phil Neville thought while he made the lineup, because he could have gone Victor Ulloa, and that's what I thought he would have done, just to go like for like, to give the team equilibrio, a balance. Yeah. But he went attack minded, like he has been this year, which I don't hate. I don't know if it's necessarily the best recipe for success. I do think Phil Neville's overdoing it a little bit in terms of how attack minded he's being, but I prefer you being attack minded than being defensive minded, just from a stylistic standpoint. That's just me, though. That's just me.
When he does this type of thing, I don't mind, to be honest. I like it, so I don't blame him either.
Well, so again, I can get the idea behind it. Get another technical player on the field, try to be better with the ball, try to be possession based. So I understand the idea, but it didn't work out. Not in this game. Now, again, it was very cold. Now, Inter Miami.
That's cheap.
It's not an excuse. Listen, it's not an excuse. I'm not saying that's the reason. I'm not saying that's the reason they lost. But it was very cold, and you could see every Inter Miami player except for Sergei Kristov, who was in his true Ukrainian element. Yeah. Everybody was either wearing long sleeves or gloves or both. Even on Toronto FC, there was not a single player on Toronto FC that was not either, at least in the starting lineup. So the first 22 players, there was not a single player on either team, aside from Sergei, who was not wearing gloves or long sleeves. Sergei was the only one.
Do you know what the temperature was?
I think they said it felt like 6 degrees or something like that.
Okay,
with the wind chill, it felt very cold.
Yeah.
There was one close-up from the Apple TV broadcast where you see like a throw-in or it was a play towards the sideline, and there's some Toronto FC fans that I guess have VIP seats because they're sitting really close. They're on the side on one of the chairs behind the ad boards. And they're so bundled up, man. Like, you couldn't even... I think it was a couple. It was a man and a wife, or a man and a woman. And the woman, you could barely see her because you could just see her hair and her eyes, and the rest of her face was covered with the scarf and the hoodie. And the guy was super wrapped up. He had his arms like crossed, and you could tell that they were freezing. But nonetheless, I don't blame the cold weather. Like, that's not it. I mean, it does play a part in Inter Miami being maybe a little uncomfortable on the field. Just like when people or teams from the Northeast come to play in the hot and humid weather in South Florida in July. Is it an excuse for why they lost? You could analyze it as part of the reason why, because it does take a toll if you're not used to it. So I do think Inter Miami was not used to the cold weather. I think it plays a part. I'm not saying that's the reason or the main part why they lost this game, but I think it plays a role. Now, something else here that I think hurt the team and maybe led to a little bit of this disjointed sloppiness that we're talking about. And I don't know if you agree. Curious to hear your thoughts. Too many players in this starting lineup, especially in that midfield, are too similar.
Right. I was just thinking about that.
There's not much difference. Yes, if we did the whole profile of every single player, there's differences. But generally speaking, they're all very similar players. Like, which one of those five in that midfield is stretching a backline?
Maybe, Mota, and that's barely.
Stretching a backline. That means making runs in behind the defense and posing a threat to beat you with speed.
I mean,
there was no. Pizarro's not super fast. Corentin John's not super fast. Stefanelli has some quickness to him, but he's not super fast. Nobody in that midfield five possesses incredible speed, right? So Inter Miami, while they were trying to possess and play, everything was in front of Toronto FC. They never had to worry about really any threats in behind them. Like, it was just all in front. Josef Martinez, which, once again, we'll talk about his performance in a little bit. We've talked about his performance for multiple weeks going, but we have to talk about it again. He's not giving you that threat for Inter Miami. He's not providing that threat. He's not making diagonales, so he's not making diagonal runs in behind off the back shoulder. He's not the fastest, so he's not stretching that back line. Like, Inter Miami in general, and especially focusing on that midfield, I thought the players were way too similar, and there just wasn't enough sharpness to make up for the lack of diverse attacking qualities. Nobody's getting in behind. I thought things got interesting once Robert Taylor and Ariel Lassiter came in the second half, but by then it was too little too late.
Yeah, because you don't have a natural winger to like open up the field and make those diagonal runs. Everything is going, like as you said, Pizarro, Bryce Duke, Stefanelli, including Kogoyan, are like similar players going inside, and like they're how do you say, like crashing between each other. Like they don't have no one to like pass the ball. You don't have DeAndre Yedlin playing in this game, so that was a huge like as well. We need to talk about not having DeAndre Yedlin.
We will get there. We will get there.
As well for you. And then once you said that you put in Robert Taylor and Lassiter, that opens up the field a little bit more for Inter Miami.
Well, Phil Neville also changed the tactics in the formation once he got Taylor and Robert Taylor on there, because then Inter Miami... Lassiter, yes. Because then Inter Miami switched to a back three, which consisted of, if I'm not mistaken, from right to left, Christopher McVeigh, Serhi Christoph, and Franco Negri. And then you had like a midfield four, a first line of midfield four, with Taylor on the right. You had, who was in? Ulloa came in, and you had Mota. And then on the left, you had Lassiter. And then you had more advanced playing as like joint number 10s. You had Nicolas Stefanelli and Benjamin Cremachi. And then up top, Josef Martinez remained. That's how they finished the game. So I thought there was a little bit more of a threat in terms of just more versatility. Because there was one play in the second half where Robert Taylor gets in on the right side and he fakes a shot to try to get the defender to bite. Then he pulls a shot from the right side, but it's blocked out and goes for a corner. And that's the type of stuff Inter Miami missed in this game. Look, I liked Inter Miami's first 20 or so minutes, 20, 25 minutes. It wasn't the best, but they were competitive. End of the first half, it got a little sloppier. And then in the second half, there just wasn't almost anything.
Yeah, I mean, they had several chances. I believe, like, in the first couple of minutes, like, Pizarro had one.
Pizarro had a wide open one that he should have done better on, especially since he's a DP. Didn't put it away. Stefanelli had a few shots in this game, and first half for me, first half for me was Stefanelli's probably best 45 in an Inter Miami jersey, for me.
Okay.
And I think that's progress because he's still adapting and working his way up to being the Nicolas Stefanelli he can be. Something he's even said. He said he has more to give. So, but I liked what I saw from him in the first 45 minutes. Is he a true number 10? There's a question about that in the Q&A session, so we'll leave it for there. But to touch on the subject a little bit, another player that maybe isn't playing in, or at least in this game, wasn't playing his most natural position, like Bryce Duke as an 8. So that could be a factor as to why Inter Miami struggled here, because definitely hasn't wowed anybody yet. But I do think that first half he was pretty involved, had a couple of chances. And looked a lot more livelier and active than what we've seen. And a little bit sharper. Although, again, not like most of the other teammates in the midfield, not anywhere near as sharp as he needed to be. Now, let's move on to a different performance. Miguel, we have to talk about Josef Martinez. Because after the game is 1-0, literally a couple minutes later, Inter Miami has a glorious chance to... Okay, maybe glorious is... I think it's glorious, but maybe not everyone shares that. They have a good chance to tie the game on a fantastically drawn-up set piece that is played short, and then Jean Mota, from a deeper position, clips in the ball to... I'm trying to remember who it was. I'm blanking on who it was right now.
Yeah.
But it's a well drawn up set piece, and Jean Mota clips the ball into the penalty area, and it's headed back into the path of Josef Martinez. And he has a half chance. But it's a half chance in front of the goal. And he gets too far underneath it, hits it over the crossbar. A chance that you would expect Josef Martinez normally, or Josef Martinez of years past, to put away. Even the commentators for Apple TV, they were saying, like, you know, the Josef Martinez of yesteryear puts that into the back of the net. Now, this is not the same Josef Martinez, but
obviously
you need to see him put those chances in the back of the net. He missed 2 opportunities against NYCFC that he should have put away. Here, I think he should have put that one away. I don't know if everyone thinks it's as good of a chance as I do, but I think it should have been put away.
Yeah, but look, I have my opinion about Josef coming in. I was like, okay, I like him as coming off the bench. I think Leo Campana can be the starting number 9 for this team. I don't know if you agree with me, because look, Josef. I know people like Josef Martinez, but look, the last two seasons, yes, he was injured, but last season he missed this type of shots last season as well. So it wouldn't surprise anyone at this point with Josef Martinez. Like, he should score them because they're easy for a striker of his caliber. But last year he was not scoring these either.
So I'm watching the replay of the sequence of the play I'm talking about. It's in the 50th minute. Franco Negri plays a free kick to Jean Mota in the center of the field. Jean Mota clips in a superb aerial pass into the penalty area, and I believe it's to Coco Jean, and then Josef Martinez can't put the ball on frame from about 12 yards out. Yes, there was some tight marking on him, but again, I think it should have been, I think it should be put away, especially on the second look on the replay. I mean, he's got much of the goal to shoot at. The right side of the goal from where he's looking, in the second replay you can see it perfectly if you go on YouTube and watch the highlights. Not Miami Total Football's YouTube page, because we're not allowed to post highlights anymore. But if you go on YouTube and you look up the highlights, the second replay shows it clearly. He's got much of the right side of the goal to shoot at and tuck that ball away, and he shoots it over the bar. After the game, I asked Phil Neville about it. Phil Neville again gave him a vote of confidence in terms of Josef Martinez, saying he knows he's going to score goals in this league. But yet, yes, he did admit, Phil Neville, that Josef Martinez is struggling a little bit right now with his confidence, and he's a striker that needs goals, that lives off of scoring goals, that needs that feeling of scoring goals, and not having 1 through 4 games in the season is impacting him. And you can see it. You can see it in his demeanor. You can see it in how he laments every miss. Like, you can tell it's weighing on him. At least that's my sensation.
But you can like the timing, you know, what people say in soccer, like the timing the soccer player has. Like, you can see on Josef that he doesn't have that yet. Like le falta, like, how do you say, like chispa, something like that. Like, right now, that's what I think from, like, seeing him from the outside.
There's a chance he has at the very end of the game, literally before the whistle goes final, or they blow the last whistle.
But
he has a shot.
That was a little bit. I mean,
he should put that on frame. He should put that on frame, man. He should put that. He's at the top of the 18. He doesn't have anyone in close proximity to him, and he pulls it wide left. He doesn't even get it on target. And I think his confidence right now is low. I mean, it's not where it needs to be, and clearly because he hasn't scored in 4 games. So I take Phil Neville's word there that Josef Martinez is impacted by the fact that he hasn't been able to score. Now, I agree with you, and I've said it for multiple episodes now, that I don't think he's ready to be the number 9, right?
So you think Leo Campana is going to be the...
Initially, the plan coming into the season was 4-4-2 diamond. That was Inter Miami's plan.
Okay.
And they wanted Josef Martinez and Leo Campana leading that front line. And they were going to share the attacking and scoring burdens up top. Campana gets injured 2 days before the season opener. Since then, other injuries have occurred as well. Josef Martinez has been put into a position that he was not ready for But that's just what the situation is called for. Because you have no other proven, healthy number 9. So he's the guy right now. Now, he'll be missing this weekend because he's off on national team duty with Venezuela. So Inter Miami, either someone needs to get healthy or they're going to have to get creative up top with either Ariel Lassiter. But we'll get to the previewing of this weekend's game in just a few moments. Nonetheless, Phil Neville said he thinks it'll be good for Josef Martinez to get away, to clear his mind a little bit from the personal, individual performance level struggles in South Florida, go play with his national team. Maybe he gets a goal there. Maybe the vibe there raises his spirits and lifts him up so that when he returns to South Florida, that he'll be in a better standing or in a better mood. Phil Neville also said that he expects Josef Martinez by the game in which he returns a couple weeks from now to be close to the best version of himself. That's what Phil Neville said. I don't think Josef Martinez is close to being there in terms of his fitness. I don't think he's close to being there in terms of his sharpness. I think it's going to be a good, long work in progress. The sooner Campana can get healthy, the better. Now, on Saturday, Campana posted to his Instagram a picture of him. You can only see his legs, but him sitting in the Inter Miami gym. So it looks like he's still doing gym work. Not sure how much further out or further away he is from returning to the field and at least doing ball work and partaking in team sessions. Until that happens, he's not going to start. I can't imagine they would throw him into the fire as soon as he's able to partake in practice, because he still has to get now back to game fitness. So Schneider-Borgelin also still injured. Jake LaCava was on the bench in this one. I was surprised we didn't see him come in, because he's like one of the few attacking options that, yes, we haven't seen him yet in an official Inter Miami game, but he's one of the few attacking options that Inter Miami had, and they didn't go to him, which I think says something about, where he stands in the pecking order. Listen, Josef Martinez does get paid to put the ball in the back of the net. Right now, he's not doing it. I said it last week. I'll say it again. If he's not doing what he's paid to do, and it's costing you potential points, then you've got to start considering looking elsewhere. And I think maybe it's going to be a blessing in disguise that he's away for international duty, because now it forces Phil Neville's hand to have to try somebody else. Because look, I honestly think, this is what I honestly think, and this is not inside information, this is just my sensation. Mi sensación. Phil Neville is really, really, really trying to manage Josef Martinez. He gave him the captain's armband in this one. The captain's armband. Josef Martinez just signed this year, and yes, he's a proven player in MLS.
Franco,
but is he?
Anyone can be a captain.
Okay, so Gregory doesn't have the armband, so somebody else had to get the armband. If DeAndre Yedlin was there, I think DeAndre Yedlin gets the armband, but he didn't. Who's next to get the armband? Who would you consider as potential captain material?
Mota. For me, Mota.
Anybody else? Any other candidates for you?
Mota. Christoph.
So I would say Mota would be a candidate for me based on the 11 that were on the field. I would say Serhi is a candidate, although he's still so new to the team that maybe it's too early to give him the armband. So I think there were other candidates to give the armband too. So if you give it to Josef, why would you give it to Josef Martinez? Is he a leader? Is he a rah-rah type of guy? No, I think he gave it to him to try to give him some extra confidence. And again, that's not inside information. That's just my sensation, my supposition from the outside. I think that's why Phil Neville gave him the armband. I don't see any other reason to give Josef Martinez the captain's armband.
I mean, look, Joseph is, like, I don't know how to say this in English, but like un viejo zorro. Like, how do you say it? Like un viejo zorro, un zorro viejo?
A wily veteran.
Yeah, like he knows the league. He knows, like,
but that does not make you captain material. That does not make you captain material. I think Phil Neville giving Josef Martinez the armband was a way to try to motivate him, to give him confidence, to make him feel important, because he's not been scoring and because his confidence is down. But it didn't translate into anything on the field in this one. To me, Josef Martinez, when you see him play and you see the way he quickly moves the ball, Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I like that players move the ball and doesn't get stuck to them. But given his jerarquía, given who he is, I would expect him to try to do a little bit more, to try to put this team on his back a little bit. I see him playing like too quickly, too often. Like he doesn't necessarily feel like he's capable of
doing something different,
doing more. Right. Like I don't see that coming from him. Like that's not what he's transmitting to me watching him play. Like I don't see him looking confident. Like he feels like, all right, I can take this defender on and score this goal, or I can do this and it's going to work out. Like I see a player that's, I'm not gonna say he's hiding. He's not hiding, but I see a player that looks a bit timid, that looks a bit lacking confidence, that does not look like someone who wants to go at defenders and someone who feels like he's going to make a difference on his own. I don't see that borderline smug Josef Martinez that we used to see in Atlanta. Like I see a much more Josef Martinez that maybe is playing within what he thinks are his limitations right now, or maybe what are his limitations right now, as opposed to trying to do a little bit more and taking on that responsibility and feeling like he can do it. That's just my opinion, though.
No, I think everyone agrees with what you're saying right now.
I don't know about everyone. There's probably plenty of people that don't agree with that. Especially some Venezuelans out there, probably like, what are you talking about? But you never know.
But, I mean, you have to be blind. Like, he doesn't show confidence when he's playing. Like, you're right. Like, you know, el goleador vive el gol, you know? Like, he doesn't have that right now.
No transmite. Like, it's not, like, I don't see him, like, again, I don't see him doing anything with the ball other than just quickly playing it and laying it off to other teammates. I don't see him wanting to take on defenders. I don't see him wanting to, you know, like, maybe if he felt more confident in general, or maybe he felt healthier, maybe he felt fitter, maybe he's a little more aggressive at going at players. Whether it's on the dribble, whether it's making runs in behind, but he's not doing that. It's like he's playing just timid. That's the best way I can describe it. Just doesn't look like he's offering the best version of himself. Like he's not sure that if he tries to do some of these things that can make a difference, that they'll come off. So rather, like he's scared to make mistakes. That's what it seems like to me. Like he just wants to play safe. He's
just giving the easy pass, you know.
And I think again, not having a threat either on the wings or up top that can stretch the back line, that can make runs in behind. I think that's also hurting Inter Miami's attack, because again, back-to-back games now without a goal. If you go across the 4 games and you analyze the 4 games, there's only been one strike that has come from a number 9, and it was in the first match by Schneider Borgelin off of a bit of luck. So the number 9s for Inter Miami, and again, it's just been Josef Martinez and Schneider Borgelin up to this point, really. They haven't really produced all that much in the final third. And Josef Martinez has gotten the bulk of the minutes. So, in general, Inter Miami, look at the goals they've scored. They scored 4 goals in 4 games. That's 1 goal per game average. It's early in the year, but obviously that's not an incredible total, right?
And they scored all 4 goals at home, by the way.
So one of those was a set piece by Serhii Christoph. The other one, the aforementioned goal by Schneider Borgelin, that he scores off of a rebound. And then the other 2 goals are shots from distance, one from Corentin Jean and the other one from Robert Taylor.
Yep.
I don't think Inter Miami's getting enough out of the number 9 position. And I think Josef Martinez, his confidence, his level, his form, his fitness, I think all that is playing a part in that. Inter Miami needs Leo Campana to get back healthy as quick as he possibly can. But we still don't know when that will be, because Inter Miami, unlike with Gregory, where they were very willing to share the information.
Surprise.
Still don't know about Leo Campana and his overall health, or when he might be back. All right, let's talk about one player who I tweeted was making his debut, which was incorrect. And I'm mad at myself for that, because I knew that. He's already made his debut. He played in 1 game last year, appeared in another game this year, but this was his first MLS start. We are, of course, talking about Harvey Neville. He filled in for DeAndre Yedlin in this one. He did not travel with Inter Miami at late notice because his wife was expected to give birth to their second child. So he sat this one out, stayed home in South Florida with her. Harvey Neville steps in there at the right back spot. Curious to hear your thoughts. Now, obviously, anytime Harvey Neville plays, it's at least under this version of Inter Miami, because Phil Neville's the coach, his dad, there's going to be...
Yes, there's always going to be noise around it.
Different storylines and different talking points that people will have, whether it's deserved, whether it's not deserved. Let's push all that aside. Let's focus on his performance. What did you think of Harvey Neville on the whole? Is it a passing performance?
Look,
le das un pase? Does he get a passing grade? Or is there a lot to work on for him?
I mean, there's a lot to work on him. Obviously, he's pretty young, to be honest. He's 20 years old, I think. But look, he's in a tough position, to be honest. One, his dad's the coach. Two, he's taking the place of arguably one of the best players Inter Miami has, and one of the key players Inter Miami has attacking. He didn't do much attacking. Well, he barely did anything attacking. And defending, I'll give him a C, like how you gave me a C plus for the Inter Miami radio. I'll give him a C.
I'm about to give you a D, because now you said Inter Miami Total Radio, which is not even close to the podcast name, my friend. It's like, now you're failing the course. So now you're not even at the C anymore. You've averaged like a D minus now.
No, but going back to Neville, a C. I think you cannot ask more for him, to be honest.
Yeah, I disagree. I think you could ask more. Now,
really,
it's the first start for him in MLS. Right, so that's a challenge for any young player. The intensity is higher than you can have in practice, right? You can't replicate actual game situations. You can go through you can replicate game situations, but you can't replicate the game intensity in practice. So I think that it being his first start, plus doing it on short notice, plus the cold weather.
Come on, he's from England. That should not be an issue for him.
Hey, listen. Even Phil Neville has said like he's gotten. I don't know if he said the word soft one time in a press conference, but he's like, maybe he did say I'm getting a little soft because it's not even that cold outside, but I'm feeling chilly. But listen, I think he was a little overwhelmed in his first start, which is normal. He's a young player making his first start. He's 20 years old, like you said. Doesn't have a wealth of experience. I thought he was a little overwhelmed. Now Phil Neville raved about him after the game when I asked about what he thought of Harvey's performance, and he said, the demeanor that he showed and the attitude looked like an MLS player. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like, I think technically Harvey Neville looked the part, but I did think he was overwhelmed. And defensively, a lot to work on. In terms of recognition, in terms of one-on-one defending, in terms of man marking. Defensively, I didn't think he was very good. With the ball at his feet. That is
normal, right? That is normal for a kid like that to, like, obviously you need to work on him a lot. I'm not expecting him to be the best right back.
I'm not asking him to be the best right back. I'm just telling you what I saw in this game. I saw a player that looked a little overwhelmed with the situation, a player that defensively didn't impress. With the ball, I liked him better. I liked him better when he was playing forward, because he would look to play passes into the attacking half, into the attacking third. There's one ball he plays in exquisitely in the first half to a streaking Coco John. Though the one time that Inter Miami was able to, in that first half, kind of stretch Toronto FC's backline. And he hit a perfectly weighted pass down the right flank. And then Coco John fed Nicola Stefanelli for a shot that Sean Johnson saved. It wasn't the best shot, but it was a shot on target, and Sean Johnson, Toronto FC's goalkeeper, makes the save. So Harvey Neville with the ball, I liked. There was also another sequence in the first half where he's one-on-one, and he takes his defender on. He took his defender on and pulled off a nifty little dribbling move where he had the ball on his right, he pushed it to his left, and then quickly pushed it back to his right and started getting around the defender Now the defender astutely, so he doesn't let Harvey Neville get away from him. He tugs on his arm. I thought it could have easily been called a foul, but it wasn't. Play continues, and Harvey Neville gets stripped of the ball. But again, with the ball, I liked what I saw. I think those were the good starting points from his first game. But defensively, a lot to be desired. A lot. The first goal, it's not solely his fault. Now, Phil Neville said after the game there was a mistake that Inter Miami made that they didn't react well to. And what that mistake was, look, Inter Miami had a free kick in its own half. And then sloppy play leads to a turnover, quick transition attack, and then the low cross comes in from the right. And Harvey Neville gets beat to the spot by Jonathan Osorio. So, should have done a little bit better there in terms of getting goal side of Osorio, in terms of recognizing the danger. It wasn't the only time that happened. There was also a cross in the first half that I forget who brought it down. But a Toronto FC player brings it down in the penalty area and gets inside of Harvey Neville. And if that player was a bit more technical or a little bit more quicker to pull the trigger, he has an open shot on goal. But he couldn't get the ball down comfortably, and then that allowed Harvey Neville to recover, which kudos to Harvey Neville. He recovered well there in terms of not allowing a shot on goal. But he was beat on the initial movement. So defensively, a lot to work on for me. If I had to give him a player rating, probably a 5. 4.5, 5 out of 10. Yeah. That's what you would give him? You give him... You said a letter grade. You can't give him a letter grade. We got to give a player rating, bro. We got to stay the true football fashion.
Yes, but I feel like you're being a little bit too rough on him, to be honest. I'll give him a 5.56.
So he was involved in giving up the first goal, and you'll give him a 6, which is a solid grade.
Out of 10? I don't think so.
6 is a solid grade. 6 means you turn in a solid shift.
I'll give the whole Inter Miami team a 5, 6.
I cannot give Inter Miami a 6 when the performance they put forth. But anyway, that's besides the point. I actually miss doing my player grades. I did it for the first 2 seasons, and then just because of time, I've just gotten away from doing it. I really want to get back to it because I really like doing it.
I usually do it for my YouTube channel, but it takes time, to be honest.
It does take time. Time because you want to be fair and I need to rewatch the games to give player ratings. I know some people do it straight off of just the live viewing, but I don't think it's a fair way to do it just because you're multitasking, you're going to miss things on the field as you're typing away on the computer, as you're just tending to all the different things you do while you cover a game. I like to sit down, rewatch the game the second time, and then I get a much deeper appreciation or a deep understanding of what's going on the field overall. Because now I can watch it. I know what the score is. I know what's going to happen. So now I can just analyze. Right? Nothing's new to the eyes. Nothing is surprising me. So, I like to do it after a second viewing. And that's kind of made it a little bit difficult. I'm going to maybe try to get back to it at some point this season. I got to find the right time. Maybe when Lionel Messi arrives, then we'll be player ratings from that point on. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Let's move on. Miguel, or Michael Peace, as I like to call you. Anything you want to say about the goals given up before we switch gears to the next game? We talked about the first goal. I talked about the second goal as well. Gene Mota.
The second goal. Can Drake Canada do something about it? Probably not. I need to look at the replay again, but watching the game live, I'm like, can you do something about the second goal? Probably coming out a little bit, but it's probably not. I don't know if you have something to say about that.
I don't think so on this one. But I will say this, and it is something that I've talked to other colleagues about, that I don't think we've talked about on the podcast all too much. And I think it does play a part here, especially with Pitbull Terrier and defensive muscle Gregory out. This team's not a very tall team. They're not blessed with a whole lot of height, at least the players that are regularly playing. Right? It's a team that has some good technical players, que tienen buen pie, but not a whole lot of height. And I think that is part of the reason why Marc-Anthony Kaye is able to head the ball and do this 360 spin and get the ball into the back of the net. Yes, there's lack of overall defensive muscle in there because Gregory's out. But who are the tall players in that back line at that point? Christoph,
Christoph 6'2",
and Christopher McVeigh. Everyone else, no one else on the starting lineup. I mean, you could count Drake Callender, but no one else on the field players that were on the pitch at that time. Yeah. None of them are really blessed with height. And this is a short team, and on this set piece, that lack of height plus the lack of overall defensive abilities, I think that plays a part. I do think that plays a part. And I don't think this will be the last time we see Inter Miami give up a set piece goal because, again,
you're right.
Not a whole lot of height. I will say this before we switch gears very quickly to the next game, the Chicago Fire. One positive for me, and a player that I think has made a case for more minutes, Benjamin Cremaschi. I liked what I saw from him off the bench. Looked good to me. In the few minutes he played, the few touches he got, I liked what he showed. Me transmitió cosas positivas. Transmitted very positive things in terms of how he tried to play. Did it always come off? No. Now, was he playing in a situation or in a role that maybe allows for that? Possibly, maybe. Because he's playing as a joint 10, and Miami's just tasked with attacking, so defensive responsibilities kind of right.
The game was.
So defensive responsibilities kind of really go out the window there, but I liked what I saw from him, from the youngster in his short cameo. But anyway, let's switch gears. We've got to quickly talk about this next game. Inter Miami returns to Drive Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, Florida to take on the Chicago Fire on Saturday night in what surely will be much, much warmer weather. Now, the Chicago Fire are
the worst team in the Eastern Conference.
Yes, so they are in 15th place. They've played 3 matches. They have no wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. They've scored 4 goals like Inter Miami, and they've given up 5. This is a winnable game for Inter Miami. However, like we mentioned before, they will be missing Josef Martinez, who is with Venezuela, and Robert Taylor, who is with Finland. Edison Ascona is also, I believe, with the Dominican Republic national team, although he hasn't really been factoring in. But nonetheless, if Inter Miami is going to win this one, they might have to get creative up top, because we don't know as of today, when we're recording the pod, Tuesday night, whether Schneider Borgelin will be back and healthy to start, or Leo Campana will be back and healthy to start. So what does that leave you? Does that mean Jake Lacava is going to get the start? Does Phil Neville put the trust in him? Does he go with Ariel Lassiter, who isn't a number 9 but has played the number 9? I mean, this is a decision that's going to be weighed, and they're going to have to really figure out how to approach this one in terms of a game plan. But what do they have to do in terms of that number 9 position this weekend? What do you think they do? What do you think Phil Neville does?
Look. You cover more Inter Miami, more like day to day than what I do, and I was thinking about 4-3-3. I don't know if Phil Neville was gonna do that. A 4-3 playing with Mota, Pizarro, and Bryce Duke, and then on the wing putting Lassiter, Stefanelli, and Coco Young in the middle. That's my idea, because you don't have nothing else to go as a striker, to be honest, or play without a striker at this point, and play with the false 9.
So it's tricky, and I think, listen, best case scenario is one of Borgelin or Campana is back. I doubt, even if they are healthy, that they can start. I think Lassiter is the guy. I think it's his chance, even though it's not his natural position. It's his chance.
Lassiter in the middle.
I think he's going to have to be the 9. I don't see them handing the reins to Jake Lacava. Listen, another option, another possibility, and now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, maybe more so than Lassiter, although I would probably go with Lassiter, but something else I think Phil Neville could do, put Corentin Jean at the 9, because let's not forget, when Corentin Jean was signed last year, they said he can play on the outside as well as a striker. So maybe Corentin Jean gets the look there, and maybe Lassiter comes in on the wing to replace Coco, who would be going up top. That's a possibility. Either way, it's likely that Inter Miami is going to have to get creative. Now,
So you're keeping the 4-2-3-1,
I
or
think
you're
I think
switching
that's I
the
think
formation?
that's I think that's what you've got to go with. I don't see there being another formation that they can go with, and they've played well at home in that formation, which should give them some confidence. Or they've played better than they played away from home. I don't think the performances have been all that convincing, but they've played better. Now, listen, the Chicago Fire, they're coming off a 3-3 draw at home against FC Cincinnati. So they just scored some goals. The attack will be feeling themselves a little bit. They'll have a little bit of confidence, especially since they started the season tying at home to New York City FC. Then they went on the road and lost to the Philadelphia Union 1-0. And then now this 3-3 draw that I just mentioned at home against FC Cincinnati. So the attack will be feeling itself, but there's holes at the back. Inter Miami can exploit those holes. Even if they don't have their strongest strikers or their top choices for the number 9 position, I think they can still inflict some damage. And I think either Coco John or Lassiter, whoever played, I think they're both playing. It just a matter of who goes where. Yeah. I think that could still be enough. That could still be enough. So, quickly, what is your key to the game, Michael Peace? What does Inter Miami have to do to win this game? And don't give me some broad, general umbrella term. I want some analysis. Give me something specific that Inter Miami needs to do in this match.
Look, at the end of the day, defending is key for Inter Miami, and we know because we've been covering this team. And when this team defends solid, they can win a match. But when they play the way they play against Herons, we know they can lose a match pretty easily and be all sloppy around the field. Another one is obviously scoring the chances that you have. But here's my point. That's gonna be tough. I know you don't have Josef Martinez. You don't have a player that can score them. And yes, Josef Martinez is not scoring them right now. But can we trust Lassiter or Coco Young to score those easy chances that Inter Miami is gonna have against Chicago Fire?
Not easy.
Well,
but like chances that you expect the number 9 to put away, right?
Yes. And that's my question: is Inter Miami gonna have those chances without a striker?
So they need to be effective up front. Make the most of the chances they have. That's another key to the game for you. So for me, this is the key to the game. Right? They need to improve in terms of the midfield play from what we've seen this past weekend. They can't be sloppy. I agree that they need to be defensively sound and not try to go or get into a shootout with Chicago Fire, which I don't think they're going to try to. But I think if this game ends up in a shootout, that doesn't bode well for Inter Miami because I don't think they have the attacking weapons to survive that. Not with the current group that's expected to play this weekend, as of today, Tuesday. For me, the key to the game is players stepping up. And I'm going to talk about 2 players in particular. 2 players that, especially one that has the pedigree that you would expect him to step up. Rodolfo Pizarro is one. Nicola Stefanelli is another. Those 2 players need to deliver very good games. Especially Pizarro because he's considered a DP. Whether you think he is or isn't worthy of that label or not, those 2 players have to step up. If those players step up, I think Inter Miami has a good chance of winning this game. If those players struggle to make an impact, then I think you're in trouble because I don't see very many difference makers, generally speaking. Can other players score goals? Sure. But who's going to help put the team on their back and put in a heck of a performance to really push this team forward? I think Pizarro and Stefanelli have to have very good games. That, to me, is the key to the game. Can your key attackers that should be available for this one, that are more proven, I know Stefanelli's new to MLS, but he's more proven in terms of his career, can they deliver? That's the key to the game for me, for Inter Miami. Very quickly, lineup. Any other changes do you expect from film level going into this one?
Yeah, I mean, Lassiter coming in, obviously, without Josef in. And then
does Duke stay in that midfield?
Before the podcast, I was thinking, why not Victor Ulloa? I don't know if Phil Neville trusts Victor Ulloa starting. That's probably why. But that's not my only little thing that I have. I'm gonna keep the same team, obviously without Josef Martinez, and I'm gonna put in Lassiter.
So
And then
Lassiter's the 9 or Coco John's the 9 in
no,
your
for me, Coco Young is the 9.
and Lassiter out on the right.
Yes, on the wing. Yes, and then my other thought is Bryce Duke or Victor Ua, who's the other player that can play there.
Okay, well, don't hedge your bets, brother. Come on, give me something. Who starts? Who do you think starts? At home.
At home against Chicago Fire, who has not won a game yet. I'm going with Bryce Duke.
Okay, that's
How
who
about
you
you?
That's who you think Phil Neville starts, that's who you would start.
No, that's who I think he's going to start and who I will start as well.
So I think Phil Neville's starting Bryce Duke again, and I think there's confidence in the young midfielder. He just signed a new deal actually late last week after we recorded, so he'll be around for a long time. I think his contract's through 2025 with a team option for 2026. If I'm not mistaken, I have to double check that. I'm going off the noggin, off my memory. So I think there's a lot of confidence in him, and I think that they will give him that confidence and give him a start, especially at home where they like to be definitely attack-minded. They don't want to be defensive-minded. Me personally, I would start Victor Ulloa. Me.
Really?
But I think Phil Neville's going to go with Bryce Duke. That's what I think. And I just checked. Yes, Bryce Duke signed through 2025 with a team option for 2026. So I Duke para rato. There's Duke for a long time. At least, that's what we would expect based on.
He was actually one of my, I was the president of the Robbie Robinson. I'm not the president anymore.
You're the president of the Robbie Robinson fan club. Well, you know what? Leave that for your final thought, brother. Leave that for your final thought, because we've had that debate in the press box for multiple years now, and you were in there adamant about it all. And that's another player actually that could play the 9 if he's healthy, which we haven't even seen yet. So we've he's been such a non-factor that we've completely forgotten about him. But he's definitely a player that could play in this game should he be healthy. He didn't dress in the last one. Not sure where he stands in terms of his return to play, because Inter Miami likes to keep their injuries, for the most part, a top secret, like they are FBI files that no one can access. But nonetheless, Robbie Robinson is a possibility as well to maybe get some playing time this weekend, given the lack of options overall, if he's healthy.
If Robbie Robinson plays and scores a goal,
so
I am.
Then you return to being president of the fan club. Okay. Well, the only other change I could see, or the only other, I guess, depends. It's a mystery. If it's Harvey Neville or DeAndre Yedlin at right back, is DeAndre Yedlin still tending to the expected birth of his child? Because I don't know. I'm not sure if the child was born yet. So maybe it'll be another weekend that he misses a game. If so, then Harvey Neville starts. If not, then I fully expect DeAndre Yedlin to return back to his normal right back spot. We'll see. But let's leave it there, Miguel. Let's take a quick break. We've been talking for a while. We'll come back for a quick Q&A session and our final thoughts. We'll do that after this. Q&A time. So, let's tackle a couple of these questions. All right? Starting with MLS España. All right. MLS Spain. I like it.
Spain, damn.
Listening all the way from Spain. I will answer this question. And MLS España asks, should Josef Martinez have asked not to play for Venezuela in order to get more minutes with Inter Miami? So this will go back and hark back for you old school listeners to a debate I had with Steve El Primo Brenner back in 2021 or maybe 2020, can't recall, where I staunchly defended Rodolfo Pizarro's decision to play for Mexico, even though it was just friendlies, during a key stretch run for Inter Miami. Because guess what? These are FIFA-approved matches. They are recognized by the international calendar. If MLS decides to play through them, don't blame the player. Other leagues
They
around the
never
world,
left.
stop. Other top leagues around the world, stop. So that there's no conflict. Also, if a player's called up, from my understanding, now I don't know if the rules have changed, but from my understanding, if a player's called up, unless he works something out with the coach or, they come to an agreement, that player has to show up if he's called up based on international rules. That's what I was told a few years ago by a good source. Now, again, I don't know if the rules have changed since then. But, no, Josef Martinez should not have said, okay, let me stick around with Inter Miami and work on my chemistry there and miss time with Venezuela. Listen, national teams only get together so often throughout the course of a year. Venezuela is getting ready for World Cup qualifying, which starts this fall. This is one of their only opportunities to work on things for their new coach, to try to see what he's got and for players to make an impression. No, Josef Martinez absolutely should not have stayed. And I get the argument. If someone has a case to make, I understand it. But this is an MLS issue. If there was no MLS fixture this weekend, Josef Martinez wouldn't miss the game. But because they want to play through the international calendar, then okay. Then you're going to miss international players. Because that's just par for the course. They're going to get called up to their national teams, and they should play for their national teams because it's well within their right, and it's well within what is expected of a player who is allowed to go on international duty during a FIFA-recognized international fixture. Now, if this was April and Venezuela was having a random friendly that's not on a FIFA international fixture, then absolutely he shouldn't go, and I don't think Inter Miami would release him. But Inter Miami is required to release him because, again, this is a FIFA-recognized international window. So, no, he should go with Venezuela, look to make his impression there with his teammates, and maybe regain some confidence. All right, this one's for you, Miguel. This one comes from J.L. Ortiz, who I don't believe has ever asked a question either. So we have two newcomers here. All right, like it. When is Phil going to stop pretending that Stefanelli is a 10? He has been non-existent in every game so far. I think Duke makes a bigger difference to the game when he is in the 10 position. Stefanelli should be utilized in his natural position, parentheses, second striker. Your thoughts, Miguel?
I mean, look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't want to judge Stefanelli right now because I haven't seen that much from him. To be honest, I'm being honest right now. I didn't know who he was before Inter Miami. I wasn't that, no lo conocía, before. And yes, if I'm going to be honest, then even Pizarro is better playing at the number 10 position than Bryce Duke. So between Duke and Pizarro, I would say with Pizarro playing at that position. But look, let's come down with, 10 players. They're not that good in the position. It's just 4 games now. I want to see more of him before I say yes, this guy is definitely not good as a number 10.
So I don't necessarily think Stefanelli's a 10. I kind of agree with JL Ortiz there. I would say that I do agree that I think Duke is better suited as a 10. I think it's his better position in terms of Bryce
Pizarro?
Duke. No. So I'm just saying Bryce Duke in general, right? Playing that first line of the midfield, like I said earlier, or a 10, I think Bryce Duke is better as a 10 than an 8. I think it better suits him. Now, I agree that I don't think Stefanelli is a 10, but I think Stefanelli is more polished in his game overall because he has more experience. And I think, as we saw in the first half, I think he's taking steps forward in terms of having a bigger influence on proceedings. I think we'll see more soon. This is my sensation. If he played as a second striker, I think it would better suit him. Yes, but I don't think Inter Miami is going to play that way. Again, film level will put players out of their strongest positions if it suits the system that he wants. And that's a coaching philosophy, a coaching preference, a coaching style. Whether we agree with it or not, I mean, of course, we can dissect it and debate it, but it's something that Phil Neville has gone with, and I don't think he's going away from it. So I think Stefanelli will continue to be trotted out as a 10, at least in the short-term future, unless the returns continue to be minimal. But again, reiterating, I think he's starting to make progress. Last one. We'll do one more, because Dos Nos has put in questions for a few weeks, and we haven't gotten to him. He says, looks like Mota's better fitted as a double pivot. Neither Pizarro or Bryce fit that other pivot role. Considering we know we don't get much from Victor Ulloa, why not give Cremaschi a start? He has the physical tools to play that role. Thoughts? So I think physically he has some tools, but I don't think he's ready to start just yet. Now, could I see him starting?
Is he a number 5 though? Because I haven't seen him that much, to be honest.
So you say 5, which I say 6. It's as a defensive midfielder in the center of the park. I could see him playing there. But I don't think he's ready for a start just yet. I think if solutions don't arise, if players don't step up and deliver good performance levels over the next few weeks, then I think at some point Cremaschi could absolutely get a start. But I don't think it's something that Phil Neville will consider right now. I think, they want to bring him along slowly, if they can. Now, if things start not to pan out and they have to, they don't have another option, then I think that they'll strongly consider starting him. But I don't think the time is there yet. But I agree with you. I think he's got some interesting starting points and some interesting tools. Okay, let's leave it there for the Q&A session. Very quickly, Miguel, your final thought. I'll give mine. We'll wrap up the show after that.
Once again, new season, Inter Miami cannot win away from home. That's something that Phil Neville...
I thought you were going Robbie Robinson, man. Come on. Tell the people. I interrupted your final thought, but tell the people. You've been a staunch defender of Robbie Robinson. We've had countless debates in the press box, and so you're saying you've thrown in the towel. No. You said you're not president of the fan club anymore. It sounds like you're throwing in the towel to me.
I retired from that, but I'm back.
What?
I'm back at Inter Miami game. I'm gonna be in the press box this Saturday at 7:30.
Dude, did you just do an about face in a span of like 10 minutes? Because like 10 minutes ago you were like, no, that's it, I'm done. Now you're back in on the Robbie Robinson.
I retired. Like, it was off season, so I had to retire from that. Someone else. Now I'm back as the president.
What?
But yeah, look, Robbie Robinson is a good player. Trust me.
I don't trust you. No.
Okay.
Absolutely
not. Yes. You don't trust me as well as a bunch of people who don't trust me as well. But we'll see.
Okay, sorry. So go continue with your final thought. Sorry.
Yeah. Once again, new season, Inter Miami cannot win away from home. It's nothing new. Gregore is not going to be playing with the team, so it's going to hurt them a lot. And I really want to see what Phil Neville's going to do to fix this issue. So it's going to be interesting.
So my final thought will be on something you just mentioned, which we didn't cover in the recap and the analysis of the most recent game. And that's that Inter Miami had a very nice, touching gesture for the injured Gregore. Before kickoff, they held up, they took the team photo with all 11 starters, and they had players hold up his 26 Gregore jersey, or Gregore 26 jersey. And they posed with it during the photo. And it was a nice touch, a nice, un buen homenaje, right? Just a nice gesture, a nice nod to the Inter Miami captain. And to me, it's another sign of how closely knit this team is and how well bonded they are. Because, he's the captain, right? And he's well liked. So he's going to get a lot of support. But even if you looked at the Instagram post that he put, like the comments that he got from all these players, to me, it just shows how together this group is. And it also shows me how well Gregore is well liked in that locker room. But
he's the captain, man.
Not every captain is that well liked. You could be a respected captain, but you don't have to be well liked. If Gregore has a certain personality that's infectious and very fun.
Not like the previous one. I'm sorry.
So, what? Gregory's been the captain for like years now, brother. What are you talking about?
The Argentinian one, the one that retired. I forgot his name.
He was one of 4 captains. Okay, anyway, you're getting sidetracked from the point at hand here. But it was a nice gesture from Inter Miami to hold up his jersey before the game as a nod to him. And it also, to me, shows just how tight-knit this group continues to be, along with all the comments that Gregore got. Because, those players can easily text Gregore. You don't need to necessarily see an outpour of social media support, although it's common. But just the amount of messages he got from his current teammates, as well as what they said, that to me shows a very strong knit group in that locker room, which is definitely a plus for Inter Miami. Okay, that does it for this week's show. Thank you so much to you listeners for listening. Thank you so much to Miguel Paz for Miguel Passing. So, for Michael Peace, I am Franco Panizo. We will be back next week to recap the game against the Chicago Fire and preview what else is next for Inter Miami. So, for now, signing off. You have been listening to Miami Total Football Radio. Hey, there we go. We'll talk to you guys again next